When the will of the people is ignored, housed in displeasure.
My name is Linda Tsungerai Masarira. I'm a full-time human rights activist. After I got fired from NRZ on 31 July 2015 for fighting for my money that I had worked for, and I was a trade unionist at NRZ. And when I got fired, I just said to myself, what is there left to do than to be the voice of the voiceless, because everyone is just under oppression in Zimbabwe. So I decided to go into full-time activism. On the 6th of July 2016, I was arrested along Mopani Drive when I was on my way to town. The charge was obstruction of vehicles and pedestrians. That was the charge that was leveled against me. Whereas from the inspector Kufa Nkongwe who arrested me, he severely assaulted me, telling me that ndikuda kutonga Zimbabwe, ndikuda tadzisa kurara kumba and all. So I don't think it was all about the stones or the obstruction of vehicles that I got arrested. I got arrested for being a voice that most people were listening to. My arrest was actually a shock to me, because considering that on the 6th of July, it was a national shutdown day and there was supposed to be no activity. So it was actually a shocker that I got arrested, because I was only identified by some men who were in a 4x4 with no number plates, who pointed at me and made a phone call. That is when the police cars came and took me. They took me to Marimbo police station, where I tried to send a message to an alert that I sent on my Facebook page that I had been arrested. And the next thing, a senior police officer came in and said, take that phone, and they threw it down. And I was kind of like angry, you know, that I'm busy fighting against injustice and oppression, and the very same things are happening to me. And I actually felt that maybe what we're doing had relevance, because the state was reacting in a way that they had to crack down on the activists, you know, arrest them and all. It was a clear sign that whatever we're doing had an impact.
How did he assault you when you were arrested?
I was assaulted with open fists and blows, and then I was carried like a second thrown into the car.
And then they took you to Marimbo police station?
Yes. We were later transferred to our central police station at around 6 p.m. and were forced to sit in between each other's legs, and I was the only female person who was arrested. And I really felt angry and bad about it, because I felt like I was being sexually assaulted, because I had to sit in between another male's open legs and all. It was really inhuman. After arrest central, we were taken to court, and when we went to court, my co-accused, the 10 of them, were given bail, and I was denied bail. The reasons I was denied bail was a Form 242 of another case I had in Ontario of allegations of insulting the office of the president, where I didn't attend court in June, as I had been in hospital after being assaulted by the police. And the other reason they denied me bail, the prosecutor, I remember his very words was, "Your worship, this woman is a state security threat. You cannot allow her to wander in the streets of Zimbabwe, let alone Harare." That's exactly what he said, and I still remember those words.
Tanga tiri kuna 5 avenue. Tikati tirwire kodzero dzevanhu vane cancer. Tikanzi bva ipano nemangonjo. Touya mupaki toti tigare muno zonzi bva ipano. Zvakoma toendepi munyika medu?
Are we not Zimbabweans? Are we not Zimbabweans?
This is a recreational place where we are supposed to sit down and relax. But tonzi ibva ipano. Saka toendepi munyika muna mabasa. Toti titandare muno tonzi ibva ipano. Iyazve tadiniko.
Mati tadi. No Zimbabwe actually.
Enough is enough.
Sure, the conditions in prison are very inhuman. I used to be accommodated at cell 1, Chikurubi Female Prison. That cell was originally built to accommodate about 20 prisoners, but there were 45 prisoners in that cell and one toilet with no flushing water. And you realize that the cell, because of the numbers that it was accommodating, there was no ventilation, and it was actually prone to the inmates getting diseases like TB, etc., etc. And the food, I don't even know what to say about it. I mean, even pigs don't even eat food like that.
What was on the menu?
It was, in the morning, it was porridge, maize porridge with no sugar.
Yes.
And if you were going to be given tea, if bakers in had brought what they call gwangwata, which is bread that is squashed or nearly rotten, you'd be given water with no sugar. That's the tea. Yes. And lunch, it would be sadza. But the sadza now, it's not the sadza we used to eating. You know, even mugaiwa is better because maybe they use maize that would have gone off, I don't know, because the sadza will be brown. And it won't be well done. And boiled vegetables with no cooking oil, no salt. That's lunch and supper. Sanitary ware, people get it when donors donated. But so long there was no donor, there was no sanitary ware. That is how bad the situation is there. And you'd also realize that in the toilets, there are no detergents, you know, they're always stinking and smelly and flies and all. So the place is actually a health hazard. It is a health hazard. My country. Rubbish. A hero. A voice. Dead. Our identity. Thief. A dictator. Shallow. My first love was my second husband in 2008. Unfortunately, passed on in 2013. But that was my first love. And my first kiss, it was in 1999. I didn't enjoy it, I was still young.
Hands fall to the sky like day of leprosy. I see the tears of my mother's eyes as they run from a past stuck in front of time, constituting of coverings and another crime.
I'm a widowed mother of 5. I have 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls, and I love them to bits. They support my activism, they understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, and they're like my pillar of strength. I used to go for barbecues and drink with my friends, but after I came out of prison, I readjusted my life to suit the activism mode that I am in. I have to be more responsible because I've got a lot of people who look up to me. So I've kind of changed, I'm more laid back, I'm more focused. Rather, I've always been a bookworm. I read a lot, I write a lot. That's what I really do when I'm relaxing. When I was in prison, I had time to self-reflect, and I realized that I was more determined to do what I'm doing. I actually came out more resolute and committed, undeterred. Irregardless of what happens to me, I'm going to fight on because we need to restore Zimbabwe back to its former glory. We cannot continue being used by a clique of a few individuals who seem to think that Zimbabwe is personal property. Because Zimbabwe is not personal property. It belongs to all Zimbabweans. And we want to reclaim all the national identity tools that they have taken. For example, the flag, Mbuyane Handa, etc., etc. Those things belong to Zimbabweans, not to ZANU-PF or any political party. We need to bring back power to the people and to reclaim our power and to direct this country where we want it to be as the youth of Zimbabwe. I really don't think I've had a weak point because I expected most of the things that happened to me. I had really studied our political space and our political atmosphere. The only time that I really felt down was when I realized that there were other activists who seemed to be on the same side with me, yet at the same time they were going around my back and backbiting me with state authorities. I think that's the only time I really felt like, what's happening, you know? We're supposed to be doing this for our country, and how can one person go and get paid, you know, to give information about me? I think that's the only time when I really felt down, but it didn't break me, neither did it stop my resolve to fight for a better Zimbabwe. Honestly, I feel that women should come out in their numbers and fight for justice, because almost all the problems that are in Zimbabwe affect women, mostly. The burden is carried by the women. But the problem that we have in Zimbabwe is that women were conditioned and stereotyped to behave in a certain way. They are told that they're supposed to be at home, feeding the children, waiting for their husbands and supporting them and all that. But you'll find that like as of today, if a child gets sick, it's the woman who's going to run around to look for money to take the child to hospital. It's the woman who's going to look for money to buy medication. Most of the times, the men are even trying to make ends meet because they're not working. If there's no food at home, it's the woman who's going to be running around to make sure that there's food at home. So women should really come out because they know how painful it is to live in the Zimbabwe that we're living in right now. Because even if there's no water in most places in Harare. It's the woman who has to carry a bucket for a long distance to fetch water because the husband won't be there. So women should really come out in their numbers and show their displeasure with the way we are living. Women are suffering, but they have to come out and speak out that they are tired of living such a life. It's just that women are afraid. There's so much fear that has been put into Zimbabweans by this regime. Most of the times when you ask them, what are you afraid of? They don't even know what they're afraid of. So we want to get to a stage where we demystify that fear. That is why I founded an organization called Zimbabwe Women in Politics Alliance. That is one of the major reasons that we formed this alliance, that we want to go out to the women. We want to teach them about their rights. We want to put back power in them so that they know that it is their right to speak out. It is their right to say we need proper health facilities. We need proper sanitation. We need proper housing, etc., etc. Because the women in Zimbabwe are about 52%. So we make up more than half of the population. So we need a voice and we need to speak out. Women have been used by men for a very long time, but they don't realize that because they were born to behave in a certain way, which is one of the things that I endeavor to change in our society.